Welcome, my name is Brian Nelson. This is the first lesson in a series of videos that are designed to provide an introduction to programming with the C# programming language. It is intended for people that would like to learn to develop software and have little or no experience. I'm going to try to keep this introduction as accurate as possible while keeping it as straightforward as possible. More advanced developers will see that some simplifications have been made in some of the descriptions. This is done to allow you to learn enough of the basic information to get started without being overwhelmed with too much information. Keep in mind that there is always more that can be learned on any of the topics in this course. Each video in this series will contain a discussion of a topic and then a hands-on implementation of that topic. So let's begin. The goal of a software developer is to write programs that provide some set of functionality. This might be something simple like listing the contents of a folder, or it might be something complex like a photo editing application. Applications are written using a programming language. There are many different programming languages that are available, and each is optimized for a different use. C# is one such language. It has access to a robust library of functionality that is provided by the .NET platform. C# code can now run on almost any computing device, including Windows desktops and servers, Macs, Linux, iPhones and iPads, as well as Android devices. The C# language belongs to the C family of languages. The C family of languages is named after the C programming language, and that was introduced around 1972. This means that the syntax of C# is similar to the syntax of the other languages in the family. The C family also includes languages like C++, JavaScript, Java, as well as many others. C# is not the fastest language to execute, but it is a good general purpose language and will provide you with familiarity with C syntax. Syntax is the grammar and the structure of a programming language. We will learn more about the C# syntax as we work on code examples. A developer needs to have a strong understanding with each language's syntax to enable them to efficiently write the code of an application. Once the developer has written the code for an application, it needs to be compiled into a format that the computer can execute. Generally, compiled code will only run on the type of computer that it was compiled for. We will go into how C# compiles its code in the next video. In addition to compiled languages, there are also scripting languages. A scripting language is interpreted each time that a program executes. This generally makes them slower than a compiled language, but it makes it possible for the code to run on many different types of machines. JavaScript is an example of a scripting language. It is used in your web browser, and source code is delivered to the browser when you visit a page. The browser then interprets that source code and provides the defined set of functionality at that moment. This allows the same JavaScript program to be run on any platform that has a JavaScript interpreter. I don't want to overwhelm you with too many details at this point on how programs execute. Let's focus on getting set up to write simple programs. The source code for a program can generally be written in any text editor, but text editors lack a lot of the nice features that help programmers develop software quickly. An integrated development environment, or IDE, is often preferable to a plain text editor as it helps to edit, compile, and then debug a program. For this course, I'm going to focus on using Visual Studio as the IDE. There are also other IDEs available for C#. JetBrains has one called Writer. There is also Visual Studio Code from Microsoft. These videos will focus on the free version of Visual Studio, known as Visual Studio Community Edition. Visual Studio is available for the PC and for the Mac, and I'm going to use the PC version in these videos. Let's jump into our lab portion and install Visual Studio if you haven't already done so. Let's get started. It's probably easiest just to go download Visual Studio and search for Visual Studio Community Edition. And keep in mind, this is on Windows. There is a Mac version available. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to pick what type of development we're going to do. I'm going to pick more than we probably need initially. I'm not going to pick everything, kind of what I like to get started with, and you can always come back and add components later. I'm going to pick ASP.NET, so that's web development. I'm going to pick desktop development. That'll let us do console and eventually Windows Forms apps. We're not going to deal with those currently, just the console. If we scroll down, you can see all the other options. .NET Core cross-platform, that's what I'm going to focus on. Let's see, so we don't need any of the database for now. And then the games. All right, so let's start there. And go ahead and click install. So this will take a while, and I'm not going to make you wait through all of it. So you'll have to create an account. I will go ahead and sign in. The account should be free for the community edition, so that's probably not going to be a problem. That's finished. I'm going to go ahead and close that, and I'm going to close that. And I'm going to, let's see, I want to make sure. So now if you want to launch it, you can see recently added, or you can go down to Visual Studio. I'm going to create a new project just to make sure everything's set up. We're going to be mostly doing console apps, .NET Core, for this course. I'm going to let's create a documents, new folder, source code. Then I'm going to create a new folder, Brian's Coding Corner. And create a new folder, intro to programming with C#. You don't have to create this folder. You can put your source code wherever you'd like. On the PC, you can pretty much put it in anywhere. On the Mac, you should put it under your documents somewhere. I'm going to select that folder, and that's where we're going to put it, and we're going to just do test app for now. I'm going to go ahead and place this in the same folder. We can go to documents, source code, Brian's Coding Corner, test app. You can see the test app.solution, SLN. That is, hold on, let me do one other thing. I want to show file name extensions. Visual Studio has a solution, and a solution can be made up of one or more projects. And you can see here our test app.csproj. That is the test app project in the test app solution. We were looking at the file view of that before, so here is the project view. So solution and the test app. Now, there's a lot of different settings. Visual Studio has been around for quite a few years, since around 2000. Well, probably before that in different forms. And by default, it was kind of this white background. And if you prefer a dark background, well, it just switched. So the new settings are the dark background, so it just switched over. Originally, I liked the white background. Now that the dark's out, I've gotten used to that. It's a little easier on your eyes. So pretty much here is the test app that we just set up. Over in this corner over in the upper right, we can see the structure of the app. We've got the solution, the test app, project, and then program.cs. So .cs files are our C#. So over in this window, this is the code window. This is where we'll edit our code. When you click on a CS file, you can see properties of that CS file. We won't need to deal with this too much yet in this course. Most of the work is going to be over in the programming window. And we'll go into this a little more when we get started. One thing we can do is look at the properties of this app. So if you select Test App, the project, hit the properties, you can see the assembly name, Test App, default namespace. Don't worry about those too much. And then here's the version of .NET Core we're using. .NET 3.1 is the current latest, but choose whatever the latest is at the time you're watching the video. This wraps up our first lesson. In our second lesson, we're going to go into the C# language at a high level and create a simple program.